Since 1958, the United States Military Academy at West Point's Graduate Association has been awarding the Sylvanus Thayer Award to an individual whose character and accomplishments best represent the motto, Duty, Honor, Country. The award is named after the father of West Point, Sylvanus Thayer. Now, on May 12, 1962, General MacArthur became a recipient of the Thayer Award, and this is his Thayer Award. The front features a bust of Sylvanus Thayer, and the reverse features the motto of West Point, Duty, Honor, Country, as well as the coat of arms of West Point. Now, the Thayer Award is a great honor, and during the ceremony in which he was presented with the award, Douglas MacArthur gave his famous Duty, Honor, Country speech. Now, it's been said that the speech was extemporaneous, that he didn't prepare for it, and that he didn't have any notes for it. Is that the case? Join us today in the MacArthur Archives as we explore the evidence.
We're coming up on the anniversary of MacArthur's great speech, Duty, Honor, Country, to the cadets at West Point in 1962. It was given on May 12, 1962. MacArthur was awarded the Sylvanus Thayer Award by West Point, the Association of Grads. And this was an award that's given to people that have shown outstanding achievement as an American, and which embodies that code of Duty, Honor, Country, which is the motto of West Point. MacArthur was the 5th recipient of this award. He's one of 3 West Point graduates. Dwight D. Eisenhower received the award, and General of the Army Omar Bradley as well received the award, but they're the only 3 West Point graduates, and nowadays you can't be a West Point graduate. It's mostly given to civilian people who exemplify that code of Duty, Honor, Country. On March 1st, 1962, it was announced that MacArthur was going to be the recipient of this award. And it's something that he took to heart. He was 82 years old. He was in ill health. And I think, and it's known now, that he realized that this was going to be his last trip to West Point, and this was going to be his farewell to the cadets. And so, in accepting that Thayer Award, he was going to make a speech that still rings as one of the greatest American speeches today. I think people understand that and don't question it, really. But on May 12th, General MacArthur showed up that morning at West Point. It was a beautiful spring day to receive the Thayer Award. He showed up that morning and was met by Major General William Westmoreland, later on went over to take forces in Vietnam. And they took him, this is MacArthur with Westmoreland, as well as Lieutenant General Leslie Groves, this guy who ran the Manhattan Project. And he was the president of the Association of Grads at that time. And this is, right after they got there, they go into Thayer Hall and they unveil MacArthur's name for receiving the award, which they still do today. MacArthur then was taken to the plane at the Point. That's what he always called it, West Point, the Point. And that was where he was going to review the cadets. Mrs. MacArthur is there with Kitsy Westmoreland, and she will spend the whole day with her, whereas MacArthur is reviewing cadets and then giving the speech. And they'll be pretty much separated after this throughout the day. Lots of people have come there, dignitaries. There's about 32,000 people that ring the plane there, knowing that this is going to happen, this review of the cadets. It was a Saturday. A lot of the cadets who have met over the years said they didn't want to be there. They wanted to be off with their girlfriend or something. But as soon as MacArthur got there, they knew that something special was about to happen. MacArthur was going to review the cadets right on the plane, right there. But right before it, he went and met the first captain, Jim Ellis, as well as the other seniors at that time. And this is Cadet Michael Moore, and he presents MacArthur with the 1962 howitzer, which we have on this desk right here. Then the review comes. The cadets, the Corps, walks in front of MacArthur there on the review, and then he gets into a Jeep with First Captain Jim Ellis, as well as Westmoreland and Westmoreland's driver. And they drive and review the cadets. Now, a lot of the cadets said they didn't want to be there, but as soon as MacArthur started driving around, Kerry Waite said he had never seen the cadets stand taller for this review that MacArthur gave. They played World War I songs throughout the band, Tipperary, other songs that MacArthur knew from World War I. Definitely all those spirits of the old age were being evoked. The plane was where he had been carried off on the shoulders of his own classmates when they made him first captain of Corps of Cadets, and now he's singing it on this beautiful day. After the parade, they went into Washington Hall for where they were going to have lunch and present the Thayer Award, and then MacArthur was going to make the speech. Again, Jean was up on what is called the poop deck in Washington Hall, and there she sat with some senior classmen as well as a plebe cadet who was put there because he, like Jean, was from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and Jean thought that was a very nice compliment to her. But they will sit and eat lunch above the rest of the cadets, and when MacArthur's making his speech, they will stand and look over the balcony in back of him. After luncheon was over, General Westmoreland gave a few comments, and then Leslie Groves stood up and awarded MacArthur the Thayer Award. And then came time for MacArthur's great speech. Now, this award is given for that embodiment of duty on our country. And this was the theme MacArthur was going to hit on. He was going to direct it right at the cadets. But really it carries to every military man in many countries. It's a speech that evokes memories of America's past, military traditions, the role of West Point, the fact that these soldiers understand war is a scourge because they feel the sacrifice more than any other, and that concept of duty on our country and how it carries a soldier through. It was a very well-crafted speech. It was meant to create a lot of emotion, which it did. Everybody was there, said so as much. MacArthur would take long pauses for dramatic effect during the middle of it. At one point he said if the long gray line of West Point was to fail us, 1 million Americans in their white crosses would get up and thunder duty, honor, country. And then pause for that long effect before going into the shadows are lengthening for me. And then finally he ends it up with my last thoughts will be the Corps, and the Corps, and the Corps. And this is what shook everybody to the rafters. All those cadets in there knew that MacArthur was saying goodbye to West Point. They also knew that they had envisioned something incredible. And those last thoughts that, no, I'm not going to be thinking of my career or things like that, but I'm going to be thinking of you, of the Corps. And they say many were crying. Jean said that boy from Murfreesboro definitely had a hard time keeping the tears back. And a lot of people felt the same way. MacArthur said that it was a speech he gave just extemporaneously. And he did give it with no notes. Jim Ellis, the first captain of the Corps of Cadets, right there, he said MacArthur only had one note. And that was a 3x5 note card, which he had the joke written on that he used right at the beginning about leaving the Waldorf Astoria. And the doorman, he's saying, where are you going, General? He's like, I'm going to West Point. And the doorman says, well, it's a beautiful place. You ever been there? And General MacArthur just kind of laughed at it. But that was the only thing written down. Everything came from his memory. 82 years old, memorized the entire speech. Now, after it was over, the public affairs officer went to MacArthur's main liaison, which was General Whitney, and asked for a copy of the speech. And Whitney said, there are no prepared notes for this speech. So the only reason that we have a full copy verbatim of that speech is because before it happened, First Captain Jim Ellis asked the public affairs officer of the military academy if he was making any plans to record it. When he said no, Jim Ellis had a tape recorder, old reel like that, put right under the front table of in front of where MacArthur was speaking. So it picked up the whole thing. Now, when they realized that there was no account of it, immediately that public affairs officer went back to Jim Ellis and said, did you record it? And Ellis said, yes, they did. They got the tape, they took it down to the foreign language lab at the military academy, they copied it, and they had a secretary there transcribe the content of it. And that is what then gets printed up into this. That in turn leads to many renditions that will be printed that year. And MacArthur was always of of the mind. Yes, go ahead, print it up. Didn't want any compensation for it or anything, just wanted the speech to be out there. Now, when MacArthur died, he donated all his materials to the MacArthur Memorial. And these are copies of the speeches that he gave. And you can see they're made out, and then MacArthur goes and recorrects them and goes over and over. There is not one of these for that Duty, Honor, Country speech. There are for most of his other speeches, but not for that one. As well, if you look back in the history of MacArthur's speeches, you'll find elements of that Duty, Honor, Country speech in speeches going back to 1931. 1935, when he speaks to the Rainbow Division, a lot of the elements of that are in there. In 1959, when he speaks to the Football Foundation. In 1961 in Manila, a lot of the elements of that Duty, Honor, Country speech are in all of those speeches. And then in 1960, at his birthday party, they would have a birthday party for MacArthur every year at the Waldorf Astoria. And MacArthur there gave almost verbatim the Duty, Honor, Country speech. So this is something he had been working on for quite a while. Now, Jean MacArthur would say later that he came up with it that day, that she asked him, what are you going to say tomorrow at the event? And he started going over some things in her mind, in his mind, and right there and there. Later on, about 25 years later, she told Jim Ellis that MacArthur had practiced the speech in front of her maybe 3 or 4 times. So this was something he was working on, but maybe he didn't have to write it down again. We don't know. I mean, he had used it many times. He had given it before by memory at that birthday party. MacArthur was a master speech maker. I mean, that's without question. Master orator. He knew what he was doing. And so the fact that he doesn't have a written copy is not that hard to understand. People have said he had a photographic mind, that he could see things and be able to spit it back at them verbatim. So it really makes a lot of sense, at least to us. Now this was the only picture we had of that day. It's a very blurry Polaroid picture. A few years ago, I found the New York Mirror that had color photos in there. Just one of MacArthur giving the speech, though. A couple of years ago, somebody donated this picture of MacArthur giving the speech at West Point. But those are the only 3 we've seen. And we wondered why for a long time. But if you look at those reviews of the cadets that were there, they said that the photographers that day were making a lot of noise when MacArthur was speaking, and finally a general officer had to get up and tell them, stop making all that noise. So basically, that's why there are so few pictures here. Anybody that was there clicking around had the eyes of all the cadets looking at him. There was only one video clip that we've been able to find of it, and that's at the end when he's given that part about the Corps and the Corps and the Corps. We've never been able to find a complete video recording of the entire speech, only that last part, and we don't know where that comes from. And so basically, this is a pitch to find out where that is. Does anybody know? And that's what we'll end with, is that video clip of MacArthur giving the speech.
Today marks my final roll call with you. But I want you to know that when I cross the river, my last conscious thoughts will be of the Corps and the Corps and the Corps. I bid you farewell.